Taking risks at work is crucial. In fact, you can't actually have innovation unless employees are taking some form of risk. That's what innovation is all about. You take chances and sometimes you make mistakes. But unfortunately, you can't just go to your employees and say, hey, you, I want you to innovate more. Hey, you, I want you to start taking risks. That's not quite how it works. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over some strategies that you can use to encourage your employees to take risks the right way that help you drive innovation. Welcome to Great Leadership with me, Jacob Morgan. I'm the best-selling author of 5 books on leadership, the future of work, and employee experience. I'm also a professionally trained futurist, and during the course of my career so far, I've had the opportunity to work with, interview, and advise over 2,000 leaders around the world, most of them CEOs at some of the world's top companies. And this channel is all about helping you become the best leader that you can be. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, then please remember to hit that subscribe button to get access to more videos like this every single week. Taking risks equals innovation. I'll say that again. Taking risks equals innovation. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you cannot have innovation unless your employees are taking risks. So there are 3 strategies that you can use to get your employees to take risks to drive innovation. The 3 strategies that you can use to get your employees to take risks and drive innovation are: create psychological safety. Number 2, reward the behaviors that you want to see. And number 3, give your employees resources and support to take risks. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the rest of this video. First, let's talk a little bit about psychological safety, a concept that, of course, was coined by Amy Edmondson. She is one of the many people that I interviewed for my recent book, Leading with Vulnerability. And psychological safety is really about having a safe place where you feel like you can come forward with challenges, with ideas, with feedback, with criticism, where you're not going to be punished for the things that you say or do. You want to have psychological safety, obviously, in your personal life with your spouse, your significant other, your friends, your family. You also want to have that same level of psychological safety at work. You don't want to feel, for example, that if you speak up or share an idea, somebody's going to look at you and say, who are you? You're an idiot. Never speak up here again. You're fired. That's not psychological safety. So you want to have that environment where people feel safe to speak up, to share ideas, and to challenge those ideas as well. Now, there are lots of different ways that you can use to create psychological safety, but if you're a leader, here are a couple of things that you can do. Number 1 is you can talk about your own challenges and mistakes and failures, but in the context of what you've learned from them. So again, one of the recurring themes that I've had in the past several of my videos is not just being vulnerable, but leading with vulnerability. Don't just talk about the gaps and the mistakes and the challenges, but talk about how you're trying to get better, what you've learned, how you're growing. So that's one of the things that you as a leader can do, is to acknowledge those things, talk about what you've learned, talk about how you're actually trying to get better. Another thing that you can do is to talk about mistakes and challenges and failures in the context of things that you've learned, not just the mistake as a whole, but what did you learn from the mistake? Why is this a learning moment? And how can you apply what you've learned into future scenarios? You can also encourage a certain level of curiosity. Encourage your employees to challenge you, to challenge ideas, to go against the status quo, to not always have to just accept something at face value because it's always been done like that inside your company. So if you can do all of those things, you will be able to create a certain level of psychological safety in your organization. Before I get into the other 2 tips that you can use to get your employees to take risks and drive innovation, please remember to like this YouTube video. The next thing that you can do is to actually reward the behaviors that you want to see. Now, sometimes those behaviors might not lead to the ideal outcome or the result, but if the behavior is moving in the right direction, you can reward it and call it out. I can share a personal example. I am trying to teach my 7-year-old daughter how to play chess. And oftentimes when I'm playing chess with my daughter, she'll make a lot of mistakes. She'll capture pieces for the wrong reasons. She'll move her queen out early. All sorts of things happen on the chessboard. But oftentimes when she does make these moves, she is exhibiting the right behavior, right? She has a sense of what that right plan is. And what I'll tell her is I'll say, I like that you're being so aggressive. I like that you're thinking differently about this position or situation. I don't simply look at her and say, oh, well, you just lost a piece, or that was dumb. Why did you do that? I acknowledge the mistake, but I reward the behavior that I want to see. I like that you're taking time on that move. I like that you are thinking about king safety. So I acknowledge and I reward those behaviors so that she knows that even though the result isn't the exact one that she wants to see, that the behavior is. And that if she continues on that behavior, that eventually she will get to that positive outcome that needs to be there. The same thing is true inside of your organization. Reward the behavior that you want to see. People are experimenting, they're trying things, but they're failing. Don't just point out the fact that they've failed. Point out the fact that, I like that you're trying this. I like that you tried to come up with this different idea so that we can, more streamline our projects when we're delivering these things to customers. I like that you had that approach. This one didn't work out quite the way that you wanted, but I love the behavior. Try again, see what else you can figure out. That's very different than simply saying, hey, what did you do over here? You tried this and you failed and it didn't work out. Stop it. Reward the behaviors that you want to see inside of your organization. The last thing that you can do is to give your employees the resources and the support needed to take risks to drive innovation. And one of my favorite stories about this is Adobe, and they have something called the Kickstart program. And the Kickstart program basically allows any employee inside the organization to be a little bit of an innovator and an experimenter. And the way that the program works is that you go through a series of training classes and modules to help you think differently about a certain problem. So you're taught to think, you're taught to approach a problem in a creative and a unique and an interesting way. Because being able to solve a problem, there's an approach that you take. You don't just say, oh, that doesn't work, let me try it like this. But there are a certain template, kind of like the scientific method, right? Where you can go through a series of processes, think about a problem critically, and then try to get to a solution. So after you go through this training on how to approach these problems, you're then given a little box with a gift card, with a Visa card or a MasterCard. I'm not sure what card it is, where you're given $100, where you can use that money to build whatever prototype you want, right? Just something very simple, a basic prototype. You create something and then you actually pitch it to a team of top executives. And if they like your idea, then they greenlight it and they turn it into an actual project. And several organizations around the world have this. Adobe is doing this, LinkedIn is doing this, AT&T is doing this, and I think several companies around the world are doing it as well. So these employees are given the resources, the time. You are taught how to innovate and think critically. You are encouraged to do so. You're given a certain level of resources. You are then invited to pitch in front of executives. And if your idea is greenlit, it then goes into funding. That's very different than simply saying, hey, innovate, experiment, play around with stuff. In this situation, employees are supported at the corporate level to take risks and to drive innovation. So if you can get these three things in place, create psychological safety, reward the behaviors that you want to see, and give employees the resources and the support to take risks, then you will be able to drive innovation inside of your organization. So see how many of these three things you can do, ideally all three. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to drive innovation inside of your organization. Let me know what other content do you want to see from me. You can leave me a comment below. And of course, I would love it if you subscribe to this channel and like the video. See you next time.